Hi, my name is Fred. I'm a bakery trainer at Kangan Institute. I met you all in my first video, which was the croissants, and now today I'm going to take you on the path of making a lovely donut. Donuts are very good treats for morning teas or afternoon teas, right? And also you can have a donut as a dessert. There's so much you can do with donuts. So today I'm going to show you a nice basic donut. So to start off my session, I always remember to let you all know about the food safety and the occupational health and safety part of this whole demonstration session. So number one, we have to have a nice clean environment, a clean uniform, right? So make sure that we have a nice workspace. So our workspace is very clean here, and also have a nice planetary mixer which works. Saying planetary mixer, you can always mix your donut with hands. If you know the skills by making a dough by hand, utilize that and you can do your donut by mixing hand. But if you feel it's going to be too tiring, always use a nice planetary mixer with a dough hook, which is this one. So this is called a dough hook. So if you buy a planetary mixer, you will have one of these attachments. Make sure this machine is in good operation, right? And also other things that we need to work on will be basically we'll have to have a nice rolling pin which needs to be utilized when we are rolling the dough, and then a nice beautiful cutter to cut your donuts. Especially remember guys, when you're having a rolling pin, make sure that the rolling pin is safe to use, right? We should not have any edges that can injure you, and also the cutters should not have a very deep sharp edges. And also the next thing I do before I start any of my cooking demos, I always wash my hands, right? As last time mentioned, 20 seconds, nice warm water with nice soap on your hand, right? So that your hand is well clean, and with a nice tea towel, right? You can dry it if you do have to use a tea towel. You can dry your hands with a tea towel. Before I could start, if you do have any questions, you can always comment on my video when I finish. Right, next up, I'm going to show you all the ingredients that we need for these lovely donuts that we are going to make. Starting off, everybody knows the main ingredient for the donut will be your plain flour, or if you can call it all-purpose flour. Do not use any baker's flour, because baker's flour will be too strong for a donut. The next one, we got sugar, and then next we got 1 egg. We got improver here. Then we got milk. Now this milk, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it warm before I put it, because I don't want cold milk going into the dough, because the cold milk goes into the dough, the yeast is not going to get activated. So I have to warm the milk. I'm going to warm the milk later. Then we got butter. The butter can be cut into small pieces, or you can keep it in room temperature. We don't want the butter to be too solid. And then we got salt. And then one more thing that I need to tell you is, if you do not have dry yeast, you can always use fresh yeast. But when you are using fresh yeast, your ratio should be, if you have on your recipe, likewise today I'm going to say that I've got 10 grams of dry yeast on my recipe. If you are going to use the fresh yeast, it's going to be 40 grams of fresh yeast that you will be using. And with the flour, I know that some people use self-raising flour, but I would prefer to go with plain flour, because since I'm adding yeast into the donuts, I don't want any baking powder added into the donut dough. Right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to warm up the milk. So I have shown you all the ingredients, and you might be wondering that why is this man not giving the recipe? But definitely guys, at the end of this demo, there will be the recipe on for you. As my recipe states, I got 250 grams of plain flour, which I'm going to put it onto my mixer here, my flour here. Then I'm adding my butter. And then I'm going to add, according to my recipe, I need to only put a pinch of salt. So that's my pinch. So I would say that's all, right? A pinch of salt. Now I'm putting sugar. So sugar, I need 50 grams. And 10 grams of yeast is going to be added. So that's my yeast. I'm going to add the yeast, right? Remember guys, when we are adding yeast, try to keep the yeast away from the salt. So if the salt has been added, throw the yeast into another corner. Do not mix your yeast and salt together, right? And then I'm going to add my improver. Now this is something which really gives a very good product coming out. It's a bread improver. It's available in Coles, right? So you can always buy it in Coles and Woolies, but also in other shops. So I'm going to add a pinch. Now always remember, this is something that we usually follow the manufacturer's recommendations, right? Because we can't put too much improver into a product. So usually it's about 1%. So but today I'm going to use only a pinch, right? So just a pinch of bread improver. That's all my dry ingredients which has gone into the dough. And I'm going to slowly, for a few seconds, few minutes, I'm going to mix all the dry ingredients together. I've got my milk warm, so it's a bit not too hot or not too cold. It's lukewarm, where you'll be able to, should be able to check it out by putting your finger in there. Right, it should not be too warm, it should not be too cold. So I warmed my milk, and I got a nice 1 full egg. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the egg into the milk. You can add it separately if you like, but if you are going to put all the liquids together, you can add your egg into the milk and then slowly drop the milk into the mix. But when you're adding the milk, make sure you don't add all the milk together. Keep some milk at the last to be added, and we're going to increase the speed of this mix. Now it's nicely forming into a nice dough, right? We can see all the edges coming out. Now at this point, if anybody likes to have your donuts a bit yellowish in the middle before you make it, you like that yellowish color in the middle, you can add a little food coloring at this particular point. But if you do not want to do that, please make sure you don't do it, just mix a plain dough. So I've taken the dough out of the machine now, and I'm going to give it a bit of a hand mix before we could start resting the dough. I have mixed the dough. It's come to a nice consistency, right? If you can see, it's very smooth, right? Beautiful, smooth dough. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to rest this dough for about 10 to 15 minutes till the yeast starts to activate and it blows this dough double in size. Once it comes to double in size, that's when we start rolling it. I'm going to add some flour onto the table. Going to place the dough here, and with a plastic bag, or if you have a damp cloth, you can always cover the dough with a nice plastic bag like this, so that prevents the dough becoming dry. Alright, so now we have got this double in size. So I'm going to roll this out and then place it on the tray and do the second proving, right, which will be the final proof before we fry the donuts. So for this, I've got some flour here. I'm dusting the tape bench with flour. Okay, so I'm going to just roll this. Don't roll it too thin. We don't want very thin donuts. So that's probably the best thickness you can get. Right, so it has to be equal everywhere. And make sure you dust the tray very well with flour, otherwise your donut's going to stick to the tray and you will find it difficult to remove it. One, that's your first donut there. Second donut. So roughly you might be able to do about 6 to 7 donuts with this recipe, large ones. And after we place it on the tray, we take this smaller cutter and just get the middle out of it. Right, now we can use this also. We can fry it separately and call it donut pops. So here we have cut the donuts now. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to give it the final proof. Right, so final proof will be the thing that we do before baking or frying anything. In the meantime, while it's proving, I'm going to get my oil ready. Remember, vegetable oil is a nice oil to fry, or if you got sunflower oil, that's another nice one. the oil has to be heated up to 170 degrees, which is a very good temperature to fry your donuts. So we have got our donuts brewed, so it's nice and fluffy now. So it's ready to go into the oil, and we also have got our oil hot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start frying. Now things before we fry, the things that you need to be looking at as to be a nice plate or a tray with some kitchen paper like this that can suck the oil when it comes out. So then we'll have a donut which won't have any oil on top. And also make sure that when you're frying donuts, be a little away from the oil because the oil can splash in your face. So you have to be very careful when you're doing that. So we have got a nice beautiful golden color of donuts which have come out. So always make sure both sides of the donuts are well colored, nice golden brown, and then what we do is we take out the donut onto the paper that I mentioned. That's my completed donuts. Hope you will enjoy these donuts. If you do have any questions, please comment on my page. Also, if you go into the YouTube, you can see other videos of mine and enjoy your donuts for the moment. Thank you for watching.